Welcome back. You're still watching In the Game on News Central TV. We're talking not football, and it's time to go straight into the round letter game of football, starting from home, where they say charity begins. The Nigerian Football Federation has issued a strong warning to match officials following a rise in controversial decisions across domestic leagues. The directive was announced after the NFF Executive Committee meeting held in Abuja, where the Federation expressed concern over referee standards in the NPFL, NNL, NWFL, and NLO. The NFF described recent performances as disappointing and damaging to the credibility of Nigerian football. Now, in response, the Federation plans to introduce a tougher disciplinary actions, compulsory retraining programs, and stricter monitoring of officials. The measures are aimed at addressing incompetence, collusion, and any form of manipulation within the game. Now, the NFF said officials found guilty of compromising matches will face firm consequences as it moves to restore professionalism, fairness, and public trust in domestic competitions. Let me introduce our guests who will be joining us to talk about football in Nigeria. Pius Ahamba joins us this morning. Pius, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining.
Good morning to you, and of course, good to be here again on the show.
All right, Pius, we are going to talk about the NPFL very soon, but because of this story about officiating and refereeing, the NFF is saying we have to take it serious, and they're looking forward to introduce stricter measures. Some are saying introducing stricter measures when some things have not been sorted out. For instance, equipment, welfare, these are some of the things to enable our referees perform well. But we're having stricter measures when some issues have not been solved.
I mean, this is just the NFF just, I don't want to use the word backing, but I think that's the only language, the only word we can use to describe what they've just said, because you can't tell me that as a referee who is in Nigeria, my welfare is not being taken care of and I'm going to officiate a game. Even in 2025, we are still talking about security in different venues of the game, and then you are talking to such a referee and then you're asking such a referee not to make controversial decisions. In fact, if you in this season alone, the season has actually just some teams have played 17 matches like Rangers, while some have played 16, some have played 15. Let's peg it at 17 matches. We've seen a couple of inconsistent decisions in refereeing in Nigeria. We've seen a couple of shaded calls in Nigeria. In fact, the NPFL is even better. If you go to the NNL, that's even the worst. If you go to the NNL, you would. I don't even just want to talk about that, but I mean, we've seen a lot of things happen in the league that has to do with refereeing. Poor refereeing decision, bad refereeing decision, terrible refereeing decision in Nigeria. And there is nothing we can do from the outside, because those who are actually, the NFL already knows that refereeing welfare is very, very important. If you don't take care of your referees, if you don't pay referees, if you don't give them what they are due, there is no how you can expect competence from such a referee, because the referee will have to do what he has to do to either save his life or at best get his money. These guys are human beings at the end of the day. It is in Nigeria we see some of these guys, especially referees, coaches, administrators, they take some of these jobs as a full-time job. They probably have nothing else to do apart from this. That's another matter entirely. But if such a person who doesn't have something else to do, is relying on refereeing as a full-time job, he probably wants to earn a living from it. And if you're not paying such a person, the person will go through so many dubious means. I'm not saying it is right, but of course that's where we find ourselves in this part of the world. So okay. It is just if they do the right thing, I'm sure these referees will also. Is it a coincidence that we don't have some of our referees officiating some of the big tournaments even in Africa? We don't get called. It is not because they don't like us. It is because they already know. The continent already knows. So it's just what it is in Nigeria, honestly.
All right, Pius, you've made valid points and strong points, actually. Let me come to Gbemidepo. Pius did talk about, some referees who are dependent on just the refereeing job alone in the world. Other referees have supermarkets, some are doctors, some are, they operate in different walks of life, and refereeing is like an hobby for them. But in Nigeria, some referees do take that as their only job. Gbemidepo, if you agree with me, an average of referee in Nigeria, maybe they get 4 to 5 games a season because of the large number of referees we have in Nigeria. So if you have 4 or 5 games in a season, that's the avenue to know, okay, these 5 games, I have to maximize these 5 games. Now, do you think that we should have, just a small pool of talent of referees? I mean, in England, in different parts of Africa, referees officiate as much as even 10, 15 games a season, not just 4 or 5. We know fully well that you know that at the end of the day, if you want to go to Africa or go to the continent or AFCON, it's not just 5 games that passes you to officiate games like this.
you that I think we should have a stricter measures when it comes to the elite referees in the NPFL. There should be a level. We have grade A, grade B, grade C, referees in Nigeria. By the end of the day, I think that's just about the lettering. When it comes to the actual facts, even the grade A referees they act more like a grade C referee. And I'm not sorry to say this, I'm a bit disappointed. So I think I would agree with you. If it's just 5 referees we have, we know that these are the elite referees we have, that they officiate the NPFL. I think it makes it, easier, and it makes it smoother to know that, okay, these referees definitely will have more than 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games to officiate. And I think it makes more sense to hold them accountable. Do you understand? There are times when you see a referee today, and by the next time you will see the referee might be probably game day 25 or probably game day 20. At best, these officials, like you rightly said, and my colleague rightly said, this is their main source of hustle. This is their main source of livelihood. They have nothing else doing. And I think I would not agree with the fact that because they have nothing else doing, they should not be at the top of their game, or they should not be, they should not give their best due to the welfare package. For me, I do say something. Once you are good, and the money will come for you. That's the truth. I feel that if they perform to a certain level, or expected, the continent takes notes. And at the end of the day, you become a CAF referee, which means you go for CAF competitions. See, what they will pay you at the CAF level is far different from what you earn in the NPFL. Okay. And I think that's the big deal for me. That's the big break for me. Do your best in the NPFL. Show that you are good enough. Go for trainings, go for retraining, go for refresher courses, go on the continent for training. A couple of days ago, the referee body they dropped a release. They talked about the fact that it was not as if their referees were not invited. For the trainings for referee for the CAF competition. Talking about the AFCON. It was just that they were dropped because, in summary, they were not good enough. Not because the welfare package was not going to be there, not because the equipment to be used was not going to be in Morocco, well, not because that there were no equipment to be trained with in Morocco. No, it was because they were not good enough. And that's what I'm going to. The technical ability of a ref is not based on the federation. It is based on the individual's knowledge, not just to read it, but to go for trainings and refresher courses.
All right, I think I would have to pause you there and also look at the fact when you say not based on it's based on individual strengths, techniques, and a lot of things, but we also know the role that the federation plays for these referees. For instance, I mean, just some I think some months ago, referees were taken from Nigeria to understudy VAR, and we know that these VAR technologies are not even in Nigeria yet. We don't even have goal line technology. The basic gadget of feedback, where referees can talk to their star referee and make key decisions. Some of these referees have to outsource it. I mean, to get these personal gadgets themselves. I mean, these are basic things the referees body can do to encourage these referees. I mean, if you don't push your own out, there's limit to what you can do because you're coming from a federation or from an association that, I am from the Nigerian Referees Council. I mean, referees cannot operate alone, whether you like it or not. Let me also throw it to you, Pius.
I mean, you've actually hit the nail on the head. The truth is, in the AFCON that will be starting in about less than 15 days right now, we'll have about 73 referees at that AFCON and no single one from Nigeria. It is not as though, like I mentioned, CAF do not. They already understand the fact. And then when you're talking about refereeing, I've talked about the ability of a referee. I can tell you for a fact that we can get competent referees in Nigeria. In fact, we have competent referees in Nigeria. But the situation surrounding their officiating on match days would actually determine whether a referee would officiate well or not. As a referee, a professional referee, I don't want to believe that we don't, because I've seen very good officiating in Nigeria, especially in the NPFL. I have seen very good officiating, and I can actually testify to the fact that we have, yes, good referees in Nigeria. But the situation surrounding, you can't take a referee in Lagos right now to go officiate a game in Kano, and the referee knows that Kano players are playing against Barao FC, and he understands that regardless of the outcome of the game, he must get back to Lagos State. And he understands that Kano players must also win the game. So such a referee, regardless of how competent the referee is, if he gets to Kano, he must do what Canopilas already wants because he wants to come back to Lagos State. It's as simple as ABC. I've had conversations with referees who are in Nigeria, who are actually giving me their own personal stories of how they had to do one or two things to make sure that they get back home safe. Some of them already talked about how. So many stories. I just don't want to go into that. But like again, I will mention that we have competent referees in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the situation surrounding the officiating of match days will determine whether a referee will be good or bad, and that's why we're having poor officiating in Nigeria. QED. The NFF already understand this, and if they don't put things in place, we're talking about VAR. We're talking about goal line technology. When even a referee calling a goal is a problem in Nigeria. A referee sees a goal and then he's pointing somewhere else. And we're talking about VAR. What are we talking about VAR in 2025 when we've not even sorted out how to even officiate a game of 90 minutes? So I think the conversation about VAR should even be placed into it should even be scrapped at this point in time. Let's talk about how the referees can officiate very, very well, and the NFF already understands this. Welfare, like you rightly mentioned, security of the referee. On match days, you will see a referee after a game being beaten up by fans, and security officials are around watching. We have seen this in Nigeria happen a lot of times. Security men are watching a referee being beaten up by fans. It has happened right in my presence. And then you are talking about doing. So these are the issues. These are the issues. If you don't have protection for referees, how can a referee officiate games in Nigeria? So we understand what the problem is.
Okay.
We just try to beat around the bush, just try to go around the corners when we know what the problem exactly is. The problem is the fact that these referees are not protected in terms of the security and of course their welfare. QED. There's nothing else that is actually affecting the officiating of, because if you tell a referee that yes, your money is being paid, your money will be paid, you'll be well taken care of, and then the home team do not have the opportunity to talk to a referee, do not have the opportunity to determine the outcome of the game. The referee will do his job, and then if you guarantee him that he gets home safely, he will do his job and go back home. It's as simple as that.
All right, Pius, I mean, the conversation continues even away from here, but let's quickly go straight now to the NPFL. Just on Saturday, Rangers International secured a late 1-1 draw against Better Insurance in the NPFL match, the 17 clash at the Samuel Ogbomundia Stadium, Benin City. The visitors rescued a point deep into stoppage time after Better Insurance took a late lead. Now, after a goalless first half, the hosts broke the deadlock in the 81st minute when Promise Anya will finish off a move following pressure on the Rangers' defense. Insurance looked set for victory until Chidozie Uwundu's late free kick was deflected into the net, forcing an equalizer. Now, the result extends Better Insurance unbeaten run to 5 matches and moves them to 14th on the table. Rangers remain 4th, maintaining their push near the top as the season progresses. Let me come to maybe they go Rangers International this season. I like the fact that the squad is quite young, but then they've been able to still grind out the result. Last season was not the very best for them after they won the league 2 seasons ago, but they are gradually climbing up and trying to push for a continental spot.
I think if you ask me, they've been very consistent lately. You're right. They might not be among the top 3, but they've shown that they deserve to be there. They've shown a bit of consistency in the last couple of games. If they are not winning, they are getting a draw, or at most, getting a point from there. I think it's quite important to note that. And even without the presence of Coach Fidelis Ilechukwu on the touchline in the last game, they showed that they wanted a lot in the game. And the draw for me was just a value for money for both sides. It was an end-to-end encounter for me. I think Rangers International definitely they just suffered from the champion syndrome that is affecting Remo Stars this season. That was what happened to them last season, and it happens where you get to sell a couple of your quality players and you have to rebuild from the scratch, and that's what they've done at this point in time. They are rebuilding, and it shows that there is a process and there's progress along the line for me. So fantastic young team, but at the same time, I think they are rebuilding well and they can definitely get to the top. All
right, Pius, they will be without Fidelis Ilechukwu, who, as we speak, is with the team, the Super Eagles of Nigeria in Cairo, build up to the AFCON. Remo Stars will also not be with their coach. We also hear he might not even be with the club, but it's not official yet. But let's talk about, in the absence of these 2 men, wonderful men for their respective club sides. We hear the league might still continue even despite the AFCON. Do you think they'll be missed by their respective clubs? Just Saturday, Rangers picked a point away from home. How much of a miss are these 2 wonderful gentlemen for their respective clubs?
I mean, it's going to be a big blow for especially Remo Stars, I would say, because this is a team that has been struggling in recent times in the league, even though they've been trying to adjust to Abeokuta as their home ground. I mean, in their last game, which they won, they struggled. The way their manager, they even struggled to win. It's even a worrying talking about Remo Stars, even with their manager. And of course, being without their manager is going to be a very big blow for Remo Stars. Daniel Ogumodede has actually been a man who has, if you see Remo Stars, you will see Daniel Ogumodede. It looks like the man has actually structured the team in his own way, and then whenever he's not around, especially this season, and now they are playing away from home, because last season we had a bit of this for Remo Stars. They were not really grinding out results at home without their manager, but they were winning. You know, the 1-0 win, the 2-1 win. They were getting those wins in front of their fans without that Ogumodede last season. But this season it has gone really worse for them, because they are now playing away from home and they're not playing without their manager. Two problems in one for Remo Stars. So and then some of the guys who are actually trying to motivate the team last season, 2 or 3 of those guys are no longer with the team this season. So it looks like the new guys are just trying to just push themselves and do what they can do away from home. That's like playing home game away from home. So if you get what I mean. For Rangers, I think they should be able to find their way away from their manager. And in their last 5 games, they've had 2 wins and 1 draw, which is really good for Rangers. And of course, right now they're even in the top 4, trying to see if they can cement their place in that particular one. So I think yes, both teams will miss their managers, especially for. But of course, Remo Stars will miss their manager more than Rangers.
All right, let's take a look at this weekend's today's fixtures in the NPFL. We have series of matches to be played in different parts of Nigeria today. Barawa FC will take on Shooting Stars, Bayelsa United against Remo Stars, Eyimba will welcome Kwara United, Kun Khalifa against Abia Warriors, Niger Tornadoes against El Academy Warriors, Plateau United will welcome Nasarawa United, Warriors will be up against Kano Pillars. Maybe they go this fixtures, interesting one. Kwara United will visit Eyimba. We have Shooting Stars going away from home. Which of these fixtures are you looking forward to? And of course, what should we look forward to, especially Bayelsa United against Remo Stars?
Yeah, I feel for me, the Northern Derby, Niger Tornadoes against the Academy Warriors will be a blockbuster. Plateau United as well against Nasarawa United. Those are 2 Northern Derbies that I think would make a lot of sense. And I hope there's no crowd trouble. I hope there's no crowd trouble when it comes to those Northern Derbies. And definitely, Bayelsa United against Remo Stars. I feel these are 2 wounded sides that are still trying to recuperate. Remo Stars definitely have had a couple of back-to-back wins, and I think it would motivate them with a fit in Bauma. Anything can happen in Bayelsa, definitely. But Ladan Boso's Bayelsa definitely will not be sleeping on it. They will be hoping to get something from that game. So I think I see a draw in that one. But for me, Eyimba against Kwara United is another big fixture in Aba. I think Eyimba will just nick that one. I don't see them getting back-to-back losses. These are 9-time champions of the NPFL. So no matter the state they are in at this point in time, no matter how they struggle, I still feel they'll get a win in that one against Kwara United. Just probably a 1-0 win. I should see them 3 in that one. So for me, that's the biggest game of the weekend. All
right, Pius, let's take a look at the table right now as it stands. The top 6 and the bottom 6. One key thing to note: Nasarawa United are second in that first. Beg your pardon. Rivers United are second, but joint top with the same number of points. Ikorodu City third, Rangers fourth, Abia Warriors fifth, Niger Tornadoes sixth. The bottom 6, Kano Pillars definitely amongst the bottom 6. We have the likes of Barawa FC, Kun Khalifa, Plateau United, El Academy Warriors, Bayelsa United. Which of the matches today are likely to have the biggest impact on the league standings when you look at the fixtures we have today? The number of points we're already seeing from the top 6 and the bottom 6.
It will be, for me, a couple of matches will actually have big impact, but the game between Kun Khalifa and Abia Warriors would actually have, it will affect both the top 6 and the bottom 6, because a win for Abia Warriors away from home takes them straight into the top 3 conversation, because right now they are on 24 points, talking about Abia Warriors. So a win for them takes them into that conversation. And a win for Kun Khalifa, who are bottom of the table, not bottom of the table, of course, Kano Pillars are bottom of the table. Of course, they are top 3 bottom of the table, also takes them. And this game is very, very important for both sides, because Kun Khalifa themselves have just 1 win in about 7 matches. Just 1 win. The The win was the last 2 games against Plateau United, where they won 2-0, and that's their first win in about 6 matches. And then for Abia Warriors, they've not won in their last 5 games. So it is special on Abia Warriors, and of course the same on Kun Khalifa. So that game would actually be a very difficult one, because Abia Warriors need to start winning games. I understand the fact that they put all of the fight, they do all of the things, but I mean, they are getting the draws. In their last 5 games, they've had 2 losses and 3 draws, which is not good enough for a team that actually finished in the top for last season. Of course, competed on the continent this season. Okay. And they actually had a couple of players, experienced players to the squad. I don't think they should. This run is not actually good enough for them. And Kun Khalifa, of course, for themselves, they actually want to get up that bottom side. So I think that game would be one I will be looking at for this match day.
All right, thank you very much, Pius. I must let you go, but interesting conversation with you. Looking forward to another time to talk about the world of football. Thank you very much for joining.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's move.